Hello and welcome. On this video, I am planning on doing row 1 of the February 2026 crochet along for the Valentine's Day quilt pattern that we picked out. Right now, I'm getting my supplies ready. I have the starting chain that we created in the previous video, as well as it marked per section. So I have the 8 stitch markers on there ready to go. I have a 3mm hook here for the project. It's about as small a size of a hook I can get without splitting the yarn. I prefer to use like a 3.25 hook on these projects. It just helps with balancing the tension, not making the blanket absolutely ginormous, things like this. So I have scissors ready to go. They're going to be set to the side. At the end of the row, we cut the yarn, so just have those handy. I have the yarn that I picked out. I have 4 colors. So I'll briefly kind of go through those. I have the fire red, so this is going to be the very bright red of the hearts on the quilt. You'll also hear me just say red as far as what the pattern calls for. The next color that we already used for the foundation chain is the cherry blossom. You'll hear me refer to this as a dark pink. I have the soft pink, which will be referred to as light pink. And I have one final color, and that is the light peach. So you'll hear me say peach. It's very kind of close to the dark pink. There's enough difference there that within the pattern, you'll be able to see that. So let me know the colors that you chose in your project, and let's get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I have my 4 colors here. I have the lined up ends. I do pull the yarn from the middle so they're not flopping around. I can store them in a yarn bag, pull the yarn through the grommet holes that way to kind of help it keep organized and untangled as much as possible. Just note, knots are going to happen in this particular project. It's inevitable, so don't get too discouraged if you do get some knots as we go. At the end of the row, we have the opportunity to untangle anything. So what I have here is I'm going to start on the right side of the foundation stitch or the foundation chain that we created. I have the first marker at row 13. And then as far as the pattern, what I have on the screen here is the Stitch Fiddle progress tracker. I have it set on row 1. I have it very zoomed in. That way it's actually like we can actually take a look at it. So you'll see on this row, we'll do 6 of the dark pink, 1 of the light pink, 6, and then back to light. And then I'll scroll over as we go. Progress tracker in Stitch Fiddle. If you use it, great. If you don't, it's not that big of a deal. Lightness, brightness tracker here. If you do want to ever play around with that, I just have it set very dark right here so we can focus on what we're doing. And as you get increased rows, you can kind of see here, it allows you to do that. So starting off, we're going to go ahead and attach the yarn. So I'm going to pull up both loops of the first stitch. So this is the only time we do both loops on this project. We always, in the subsequent stitches, do back loop only. I'm going to grab all 4 colors, try to do this on camera, pull through both loops, and then I leave about 4" of tail that way. So we might tighten that up a little bit. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, just leave enough there for the end so it's not pulling through on you. Okay. So now we know from the pattern, the first stitch is going to be of the dark pink, which is the same color that we use on the foundation row. So we're going to just pull up the dark pink, grab it and pull it through all 4 colors like that. And that's going to be what helps lock it in. So now we're going to have the non-working colors over the hook like that. And now we're going to go into that same stitch, back loop only. Like that. And then single crochet over those carried colors. Like that. and we will do 6 of the dark pink. So on the 6th stitch, right before we change over to the light pink, we're not going to complete the stitch. We're going to get to the point we have 2 loops on the hook, and instead of grabbing dark pink to pull through, we're going to grab light pink and pull that through. So now we're going to drop the dark pink, pick up the light, and we'll do 1 like that. You can be pretty generous with the single color stitches. You just don't want them to get lost. Swap back to the dark pink. And so now you can kind of see there's a possible twist here. So I just grabbed the light pink to undo that twist, or technically I'm just hiding it. Pull up the dark pink like that, pull the other colors. So basically the twist is hidden back here. So you'll see the light pink is over the dark on the back and the other two are under it. So I'm just hiding the twist. If there's ever confusion on that, you see me doing it. So now we're going to do 6 of the dark pink. And that should bring us to our first stitch marker. So I put the stitch marker in the front loop, like that. So that is the first 13. And so if you ever kind of, something looks a little funny, sometimes you can tug on the working colors, tighten that little pink up, that way it's not so bulgy. And that would be the first section. So now we know we're going to swap back over to the light pink for this next section. You scroll over. So what this looks like is this next section is 25 stitches long. So it'll be 12 of the light pink, 1 of the red, and another 12 of the light pink. And that'll be a total of 25. And that'll bring us to our next stitch marker. This kind of goes back to our original video about the using the foundation stitch versus the foundation chain. I just like being able to go straight in while carrying these colors and not fight that foundation chain. Sometimes that back ridge is really tight and hard to get into. So that's one of the reasons I choose to do the foundation stitch. 6, 9, 10. And inevitably, you're gonna have to count. I don't think there's a way that you can exclusively get away from counting. And hopefully the stitch marking will help kind of alleviate some of that. So I just want to double check 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so we're gonna swap over to the red. Be generous with the tension. Go back to dark or the light pink. And this is going to be 12. And we're going to go over to the stitch marker. Scroll so we know where we're at. So row 1 is always going to be your lowest momentum. Obviously, starting a project when it doesn't quite look like what it's not working fast enough. We'll put it that way. All this project is about momentum. So inevitably, it's the same number of stitches. There's no decreasing the number of stitches or the amount of yarn used. You just have to kind of keep going. and the pattern will appear. Give it some time, give it some patience, and it will appear. Some of those patterns I do have so many color changes. One row will take me nearly an hour. It's exhausting, but in the end, it's always worth it. Okay, so that will bring us to that second stitch marker. That should be 12. That's 12. So use your stitch markers to kind of help alleviate some of the stress. You just don't want to get all the way to the end of the row, realize you messed up here, and have to frog it all. Um, some of my patterns, like there's so many color changes, if you're off by one, it's a little bit more forgiving. The picture will still come through. These graphical ones where the lines have to be straight, making sure that you're accurate on these projects is the only way to get through them. And if you mess up, unfortunately, you'll have to frog. All right, so this next section of 13, we're going to go back to the same, uh, double check. Actually, this is light peach. So sometimes having it zoomed in doesn't help. So difference in color pigment. Here you can see this is dark pink. You'll see a label up here of what color you're hovering over. And you also can, I'll have the actual written pattern linked so you can see the colors. So this one is actually the light peach we're going to start using. So it's going to be 6 light peach, 1 light pink, and another 6 of the peach. So we're grabbing that peach color. Oops. Light pink. Hide that twist. Okay, now we know we're going to go over and swap over to the light pink again. Hide the twist. We're at the stitch marker. Let me scroll. So we're going to do the 12, 1 red, and then 12 again. Okay. We're going to grab red. And if you ever split a yarn like I just did and it's not hidden in the stitch, that happens. It's all good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes using the smaller hook can just be a pain in the butt with some of this yarn. If you do have yarn that splits very easy, inevitably, I think with any project, it's difficult. Um, I don't mind the acrylic yarns for this, just so you have to buy so much of the yarn, buying and you're carrying a lot, so a lot of it's not seen as far as the volume goes. So you don't quite get as much bang for your buck if you're spending a whole lot of money on yarn. So acrylic yarn is usually cheapest. A Red Heart. I love this yarn brand. Karen, things like that. Um, some people like Karen. I've heard some bad horror stories about Karen splitting. But definitely make sure that you can pull from the center. I don't know how you would do it unless you have a different setup than I do as far as, pulling it from the outside. I think that would inevitably make it tangle more. Um, and I love this yarn brand. It glides a lot better over the hook as well. And also make sure you do have a hook with a nice handle on it that's long and not poking into your palm, things like that. All right, so here you can kind of see a little bit more of the difference between the peach and the dark. So this is going to be 6 of the dark pink, 1 light, 6 dark. So we are going to swap here like that. So 6. Light, hide the twist. Grab the peach. I go to one of those 25 stitch sections, so you know it's going to be 12 of the peach. And once I'm done with that, I'll scroll over. Okay, so we're going to do a dark pink. And then go back to the peach. And it looks like this particular section, not only does this section finish with light peach, the next one starts with light peach. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch to my next marker. So I know that's going to be 12. And so you'll do another, on this 13th section, you'll do the light peach continuously. So another 6. You'll swap to the light real quick on a one stitch of the light pink. Go back to peach, and you'll do at least 6 for the next section. And we'll go another 12. So basically there's a total of 18 peach because you're combining the 6 from this section, the 13 section, and the 12 from the 25 section. Hopefully that makes sense. I apologize if it doesn't. I'll have a zoom out of what this actually looks like. So we're going to do another 12. So you'll see kind of that couple long sections of the light peach. Go to the dark pink. Do 12 of the light peach. Okay, and this is going to be our last little section of 13, which is going to end with the 6 dark, 1 peach, 6 dark. Okay, last little bit. And 6. All right, so on the ends, this is when we get to bring out the scissors, undo any tangles that we have once everything's cut. So always the trick I have, so I'll leave a 4-inch tail of each color. Reminder, your working color is still on the hook, so there's a little length here. So I will first cut the non-working colors like that. And then for the working color, I just go back maybe like 3/4 of an inch. So it feels like you cut that one shorter, kind of like that. And then when you pull that out, it'll be about the same. So they're a little kind of wonky. They are, brand new yarn, so there's still a little bit of a crimp in there. But as you go along, that'll even out. So this is what we have so far. I was going to show a little bit on the pattern so it makes sense. I'm going to zoom out. We're going to pull the whole picture. So down here, you'll see where we kind of were like, hey, there's so much light peach. You can see like there's a section here. This is a 13 stitch square here in between two 25 sections. So you can kind of see this would be the 12, then the 6. So that's why we did 18 peach, 18 peach. We kind of had this long section of peach that seemed a little bit longer than the others. But otherwise, it's going to be little sections of 13. Here's one of 25, 13, 25. So we are on, that was the first row. Definitely am excited to get started. The second row is going to look, we're going to kind of keep the sections here. You'll see that these triangles get a little larger as we go along. So I'll go ahead and probably end this video. Show me your first row in the comments and we'll go from there and you'll see me back for the next couple.